Hi, I'm Eva Spiegel, the City of Vacaville's new Communications and Media Officer, and today we're doing another edition of What's the Plan? Today on What's the Plan, we're going to discuss the code update, and today joining me is Barton Brierley. He is our Community Development Director. Barton, so great to see you. Thank you.
Good to be here, Eva.
It's my first show, so I'm a little bit nervous.
Yeah, but welcome.
I'm
going to
excited.
be fun.
Yeah, and this is an important topic for our community, and so it'll be really good to talk about what we're doing and why it's important that we're doing this update and how long it's been.
Yes, definitely.
So what is the code?
Well, the development code is the rules that spell out how you can use property. So it involves several parts. There's the zoning code, which says what you can do in different parts of the city. So we have industrial zones and commercial zones and residential zones. And the development code spells out, okay, if you're in a commercial zone, what kind of business can you do there? Can you do a drive-through? Can you do a bar? Can you do a service station? Those sorts of things. And it also includes all the development regulations, so things about height and setbacks and site coverage and fencing and landscaping. All those rules are in there. And then there's the subdivision ordinance, which is the rules on if you want to divide property to sell, how you can do that and what the rules are for that. So it really governs how all the property in the city is used.
Great, and so why are we doing this update right now?
It's been a long time. It's been since 1996 that the last code update was done. And there's a lot of things that have happened. The vision's changed. We have a new general plan. And so there's a new vision for the community, and we want to update it based on that. There's a lot of things that we need to do to achieve that vision. For example, the new general plan has a lot of ways on how we can protect the environment. And so we need to incorporate those into the code. And the code just needs update. It's kind of like a house that was built in the 1930s and has been added on and on and on over time. Same thing, the code just has a lot of parts that don't really fit together really well. And so what we want to do is redo the development code and make sure all the pieces fit together and that we really get the kind of development that the community wants.
What are the things that you're going to be looking at in this update?
There's a lot of topics that we'll deal with. One is that we'll deal with policy plans. We have these plans for specific commercial areas and industrial areas in the city, and it's kind of like a mini zoning code for each of those areas. And they worked great when they were adopted in the 90s, but they haven't aged real well. It's hard to tell a developer what exactly they can do, what the rules are, just because they haven't really aged and they're getting hard to find the rules. So we're actually going to take a lot of those things that are in these separate area plans and incorporate those into the main development code. We're going to look at our development processes. So in some cases, we're kind of over-processing things. And in some cases, we need to do a better job of informing the public and making sure they know. So we want to sort out those things that really have an impact on neighborhoods and make sure that there's good notice and good process and people can involve. And those which are just, a business wanting to do something that's in the normal course of their business that they wouldn't have to go through too much process. So that's a big thing we're going to look at. And there's all sorts of little things like we have rules on home occupations, and those just need updated. They don't really address a lot of the current uses that we have, like tons of people sell stuff on the internet. So we want to update businesses, our home occupation rules. Uber is another thing that wasn't thought of in the 90s, didn't exist, and we have to address that in our update. Events in residential areas, that's something that people have been really interested in, making sure that there's decent rules so that people can have parties and you can do things out of your home, but it doesn't get to be where there's big businesses in residential areas trying to overrun the neighborhood. Parking requirements is another thing we want to look at and address. We have a lot of different categories for uses on just how much parking you need, and it gets a little bit confusing, and it's challenging too because a building will be built and may have several uses over its life, and so it's hard if you change use that if you need to add, another parking space, it may really be hard to do that. So we'll be looking at that, and just looking at our use lists, because the zoning code says what the uses are and what zones they can go in, and there's just been a lot of time passing that some uses don't exist anymore, or some new ones that are have come in, and we want to make sure that those are updated and consistent. So there's actually quite a bit that we need to do in the code update.
Let me ask a follow-up question. Not everybody is familiar with sort of municipalities and how municipalities run. So for your average person who may be tuning into this show, they might not even know what a general plan is. So what is a general plan in sort of that layperson's terminology so that this makes sense?
Yeah, so a general plan is, as it says, it's a general plan for the growth and development of the city. So it deals with things like just how much development we should have, where it should be, what kind of quality we're expecting, what infrastructure should be in place for that. But it's in a high level, it sets those goals and policies. For example, a policy is that we would have quality residential neighborhoods that are walkable and livable. So that's kind of a high level goal. And then the development code says, okay, well, what does that mean, walkable? What does that mean? That means you're going to have to put in a sidewalk, you're going to have to put in a walkway, you're going to have to have a street tree that people can be under on a hot sunny day to get some shade. And all those sort of details is what the development code does.
Great. Follow-up question on that is, when was the last time our general plan was updated?
We adopted that in 2015. So we went through a process from about 2010 to 2015 that we adopted. So it's a fairly recent update. We have done a number of code amendments based on the updated general plan. But this is the first time we're doing a really comprehensive job of that.
In this process, is the zoning map going to be updated along with the code?
In a few little areas there are. One of the rules is your zoning map has to match your general plan. So if you have a vision that a certain area is going to be industrial, you need to have that area zoned industrial. If a certain area is planned for multifamily housing, the zoning on that particular area has to be for multifamily housing. And so there are a few areas where in the last general plan we decided to make a change from what the previous designations were, and so we're going to be doing zone changes to match the new general plan. And there are a few areas where we just found some mistakes. Cities had zoning since the 50s, I think. And some of those maps were done with pencil drawings and ink, and now with our new technology, it's like, that line doesn't quite match. So there's some little adjustments we're going to do based on better technology.
So this process is beginning now?
Yes, it's actually already begun. Last year we did what's called a code audit, where we had a consulting firm actually come in and read our code, go through it, talk to the community and say, hey, what's working, what's not, where do we need to update it, and the council actually has already received that report. And so now we're at the second phase, which is doing the actual code update. And so we've got consultants and staff working hard on ironing out issues, trying to make some proposals, and so it's going on now.
And how long will this process take?
We hope to be in front of council with a proposed new code in June of next year.
Oh, great.
And in the meantime, we'll be really busy. We'll have lots of opportunities for input on that.
And if the public wants to be involved in this process, is there a way that they can participate as well?
Absolutely. We're including a lot of opportunities. If you watch our Planning Commission agendas, it's going to be a frequent topic on Planning Commission over the next year. For example, our next meeting on August 20th, we're going to talk about the use regulations. And so that'll be an opportunity for the public to have input. We'll have some some various open houses or things like that. People want to come in and just talk about particular topics. It's on our website. We'll be posting stuff all the time on there and giving people chances to comment, and you can just call or go to a meeting and give us input. So yeah, we really do want input on it.
Great. And are there other things that you think, in your expertise that we want to tell the public about the code update and what they should expect and why it's important?
Mostly that it is a way to achieve that vision in the general plan. So when we talk about we want quality residential areas, this is the code that gets you there. When we want to promote new business, this is the code that gets you there. The code update really isn't setting the policies, because those policies were set in the general plan, but we're trying to make sure that the implementing rules achieve that vision in the general plan. So a lot of it's very technical. I think we're getting down to, what does the word "the" mean, and, where all the commas are and correct punctuation and stuff like that. But it's really all trying to achieve that general plan vision.
Great. So the last code update lasted, 23 years? Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah.
So are we looking at something that's going to last another quarter of a century, or is perhaps it's a more of a process that we need to do more frequently than that?
We would expect to do a comprehensive update when we do a new general plan, which hopefully we won't have to do another comprehensive update for another 20 years or so. But in between, there's 4 or 5 times a year when we'll address specific topics, and it's constantly being tweaked. It's constantly being updated because there's new things. There's new state rules that come in. There's new technologies come in, or we just find things that that's not working the way it should be. So there'll be lots of little changes, but we hope to not do a big comprehensive update for another couple decades.
Great. I mean, this is such an important topic, and it's very detailed and maybe hard for the public to totally understand, but this is really what sets the stage for a great community like Vacaville, is smart planning, smart coding, and so it's such important work.
Yeah, definitely.
Great. Well, I've learned a lot. I hope that you've all learned a lot today in our discussion of the code update, and thank you for tuning in for another episode of What's the Plan?